Good evening. I'm Marcella Lee in for Barbara Lee Edwards.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. Governor Gavin Newsom's announcement to lift the state's stay-at-home order came as a surprise to many.
Well, he said yesterday the decision was based on science. Others argue he did it for political reasons.
News 8's Shannon Handy looks at the claims and how the governor is responding.
Marcella and Carlo, lifting that order allowed businesses like these restaurants here behind me to reopen. So these owners are, of course, relieved, but many people are questioning the governor's timing.
Today, we can lay claim to starting to see some real light at the end of the tunnel.
On Monday, California Governor Gavin Newsom lifted the state's stay-at-home order, allowing businesses like restaurants and salons to reopen after having been shut down for 7 weeks.
Now that we can open again, it's just such a relief on so many different levels.
As business owners like Austin Campbell of Sola Salon Studios rejoice, many people turn to social media blasting the governor for his decision. On the governor's YouTube page, comments included, "Families went hungry for their political agendas. It's all political. We are worse off now with COVID than when we got the stay-at-home order in December." San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond questioned the governor's motives as well.
It makes about as much sense as when he closed it down 2 months ago. It's like, well, okay, but why?
Critics claim he lifted the order to please people in light of lawsuits and a growing recall campaign. Thad Counselor is a professor of political science and department chair at UC San Diego. He says the all-out chatter isn't surprising.
Allowing dissent, debate, that's what American democracy is all about.
With that being said, he says while politics likely played a role, he believes Newsom's decision was based on improving coronavirus conditions.
Was Governor Gavin Newsom motivated to reopen the state absolutely as soon as he could? Sure, because he's in the fight of his political life with a potential recall coming this summer. But he and this web of scientific advisors, other state leaders and county leaders have been making data-driven decisions all the way through this. And I don't see a clear political gain for him.
According to Governor Newsom, looking 4 weeks out, the projected ICU capacity in every region of the state is improving. In Southern California, it's expected to climb to 33.3%. In addition, cases are dropping. In San Diego County, for example, we have half the amount of cases now than we did a month ago. When asked about the accusations against him, Newsom had this to say.
Let's just dispense with that fundamental, foundationally nonsense.
The governor was also criticized for not releasing the formula to get to those ICU projections, but he did so today. You can take a look by going to cbs8.com and clicking on this story.
Thanks, Shannon. And Governor Gavin Newsom says his sudden reversal yesterday on the stay-at-home order was not related to the growing recall effort against him.
But as News 8's Steve Price reports, critics who want to see the governor removed from office think he's growing nervous over their success.
Organizers of an effort to recall Governor Gavin Newsom say they have momentum on their side. They need about 1.5 million signatures to be successful, and they think they'll easily cross that threshold by their March 17th deadline. It's not the first recall effort against Governor Gavin Newsom, but it's definitely the most successful so far.
We're picking up so much momentum. I mean, we're getting, gosh, it seems like almost 100,000 signatures a week.
North County resident Kitty Melvin says the effort has about 1.3 million signatures. They're hoping to get around 2 million just to be sure they have enough valid signatures to be successful.
He is a tyrant, and what he is doing is purposeful. He's a hypocrite.
Recall supporters say the governor has mismanaged the pandemic and point to him being spotted eating indoors at this fancy restaurant after telling everyone else not to do that very same thing. Political analysts agree it was a huge misstep on his part.
When you attend an indoor gathering at the most expensive restaurant in California, it really signals that you might not be in touch with day-to-day Californians' needs.
But Fink says Newsom's overall approval rating is still high, so she's not convinced the recall effort against him will be successful. That said, she's not surprised former Mayor Kevin Faulconer has launched an exploratory committee to run if there is a special election. Faulconer initially won his seats on the city council and the mayor's office in special elections where his predecessor was forced out of office.
Kevin Faulconer has built a career sailing into lucky and fortuitous circumstances for his political career.
So will Faulconer win a special election three-peat? Fink says a Republican running for governor in California has a better chance in a special election where turnout is much lower. But he doesn't have statewide name recognition, and other candidates will have a lot more money.
he's going to have to claw his way through a field of multiple candidates, which puts him at a disadvantage.
Steve Price, News 8.
Thanks, Steve. A sigh of relief for renters in the city of San Diego. City council members extended a moratorium on evictions today. 2 new ordinances extend the moratorium for both residents and small businesses until 2 months after the COVID-19 emergency declaration ends. Commercial tenants have the same protection until June 30th, unless the emergency declaration ends before then. Meantime, council members also voted today to extend San Diego's Shelter to Home program at the Convention Center through March. The program moves San Diegans already in shelters to the Convention Center to provide adequate room for social distancing.
We're learning more tonight about the changes to California's vaccine rollout plan.
The vaccine doses will be given by age, and the state will move through a tiered system together. News 8's Brandon Lewis has more on how the revised rollout will work.
Now, Carlo and Marcella, this represents a substantial change to the tier system because instead of considering a person's occupation, it only considers their age. The state argues that this makes it simpler for people to understand and prioritizes those most vulnerable. However, the state did leave the door open to making potential future changes in the weeks ahead.
This is again about California being prepared to make sure that we can get out the vaccine when more supply is available.
Younger adults may have to wait longer to get the coronavirus vaccine, even if they work in some higher risk jobs, because the state will soon distribute doses based solely on a person's age.
Our focus is to ensure that we have that balance between risk and exposure, that we protect those individuals with vaccine as early as we can, especially with the supply challenges that we have.
Some workers are still prioritized, including those in healthcare, childcare, education, food, and agriculture. After that, the state will vaccinate by age working back from 65, although the door may still be open for more changes later on.
We certainly are listening to a lot of feedback, making what I would say are difficult decisions, but trying to make sure that they're clear and simple to follow.
The state is also changing how doses are allocated, moving instead to a centralized model. All counties will move through the age tiers together. For example, if a rural county finishes first, then the state will take their doses and redirect them to others that are behind.
We want to make sure that nothing slows down the administration of vaccine other than the pace in which vaccine arrives in the state. And we're going to do that by balancing safety, speed, and equity.
A lot of this is predicated on vaccine supply, which remains extremely limited. The state is urging people to sign up for its new My Turn program, which notifies you when you're eligible to receive a coronavirus vaccine. Carlo and Marcella.
All right, Brandon, thanks. The Petco Park vaccination superstation was closed again today because of storm damage. If you had an appointment for today, you should have already received an email notification that your appointment was rescheduled for this coming Saturday. And if you had an appointment that was canceled yesterday, the county moved those appointments to Thursday. The county says you should only return at your newly scheduled time.
Wow, that was a wild storm as it made its way through San Diego. Took a look at these winds yesterday afternoon around 3 o'clock. It was just howling in San Diego, and with that, of course, we saw the damage in and around Petco Park. But take a look at this. This is in and around the coastal area. Trees getting knocked down, toppling this carport. This one young fellow was making good use of the wind, doing a little skateboarding, but boy, the winds were just howling, and we had trees down in many, many locations causing damage. Trees uprooted, no kidding. This particular tree was in the La Jolla Shores area, pulling up the ground with it, severing power and water lines. The fire department had to come in and take a look at that and shut things down. Look at this graphic. I'll let it run there. And the winds just howled all night long. They're gone now, but another storm on the way. I'll have the forecast in just a bit.
All right.
Thanks, Sean.
Sean.
If President Joe Biden has his way, 300 million Americans could be vaccinated by the fall.
White House officials confirmed today that several hundred staffers in the Biden administration have been vaccinated against COVID-19. And there are plans to vaccinate all in-person staff over the next few weeks.
Natalie Brand has more on how the president wants to get the shots to all Americans.
President Biden is revealing more details about how he'll expand vaccine distribution.
We will both increase the supply in the short term by more than 15% and give our states and local partners more certainty about when the deliveries will arrive.
The administration says it will purchase 200 million more doses.
We expect these additional 200 million doses to be delivered this summer, and that increases the total vaccine order in the United States by 50%. From 400 million order to 600 million.
Vice President Kamala Harris received her second dose of the Moderna vaccine at the National Institutes of Health today.
The work that happens here has one goal: to improve public health.
The White House press secretary says the president and administration officials are also continuing to work with members of Congress on his $1.9 trillion economic relief plan. But with Senate Republicans questioning the price tag.
Many of us have said for a long time that anything that we do related to the coronavirus needs to be targeted. It needs to be fiscally responsible.
The Democratic Senate Majority Leader is now threatening to go it alone.
The work must move forward, preferably with our Republican colleagues, but without them if we must.
Earlier, President Biden signed 4 executive actions on racial equity. Natalie Brand, the White House.
President Biden's executive orders today dealt specifically with equity in housing, ending the Justice Department's use of private prisons. Relations with tribal nations as well were addressed, and battling xenophobia against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. So far, the president has signed more than 30 executive actions.
Picking up the pieces around Torrey Pines today after the storm left a mess on the course just days before the start of the Farmers Insurance Open.
The grounds crew made quick work of it, removing debris and repairing fencing that had blown down. Officials say the course is draining well, and it's full steam ahead for Thursday's opening round. However, another incoming storm could impact play on Friday.
It does look lush and green, though.
It does look pretty. Friday may be a different story.
It could be.